This session is going to visit about vitamin and mineral supplements in livestock nutrition. We're going to talk about why they're important. We're going to define the term premix. We're going to talk about some of the primary functions in the animal's body for some of the major minerals and vitamins, and talk about some of the common ingredients in supplements to meet these needs. Again, there is support reading in the book that's going to go into a little bit more depth. This voiceover PowerPoint is to provide a broad overview. Generally, for most animals, some level of vitamins and minerals are usually needed in some amount in the diet. A lot of times, companies prepare what we call a commercial premix that is going to contain the important minerals, vitamins, whatever additives for certain animals in a pre-made recipe that is designed to add like 50 pounds to a ton of feed that should meet the mineral and vitamin requirements for a certain type of an animal. In most of the industry would be like swine industry and poultry industry that use these premixes. And so these commercially prepared ones are designed to keep it simple and easy so producers don't have to worry about making sure all those vitamins and minerals are in there. It does it for them. Minerals are considered inorganic. They do not contain carbon. We have two classes of minerals, macro or micro. Sometimes you'll hear major and trace. And it's simply based on the amount needed. It's not based on importance. It's just based on amount needed. Macro minerals are needed in larger quantities. Micro are needed in smaller quantities. Minerals interact with each other. If you note on the diagram to the right, this is a circle of a lot of different minerals. And let's just take, for example, calcium, this one that I'm circling right here. If you look at calcium, look at how many lines come off. We see lines going to phosphorus. We see lines going over to zinc and magnesium. And we also see going to manganese and copper and several other to iron and sulfur and all these other. That mineral, and this can be positive or negative interactions, meaning it improves absorption or it could decrease absorption with those other minerals. So when you take a look at mineral nutrition, understand that while you fix one problem, it's got to be in balance with the rest of them. Otherwise, you could still have an issue. There's even a potential for a toxicity on some of the minerals. Another key term dealing with mineral nutrition is bioavailability. And that bioavailability means how much is the animal really going to be able to have access to in their digestive system. And it's going to vary with the mineral sources. If you see the term chelated, a chelated mineral, that means that it's bound to something organic or something that contains carbon, usually a sugar or an amino acid. That's going to help improve digestibility and bioavailability of that mineral and try to improve how much of that mineral the animal's actually able to use. The challenge with chelated minerals is that they are going to be a little bit more expensive because if you think about it, you're adding a step and trying to improve that bioavailability. They are usually priced more expensively. As opposed to chelated, you can have them in just a standard chemical form as a sulfate and oxide. Those are the most common forms that you're going to see, like copper sulfate, zinc sulfate, those types of forms. One of the first minerals we're going to talk about is just salt, sodium chloride, table salt like you guys have on your tables at home. Salt is an electrolyte, sodium chloride or potassium chloride. You're dealing with electrolyte balance in the body, and it's imperative to maintain good balance to have salt in the diet. Animals can consume more salt than needed. They may like it, and that's totally okay as long as you make sure they have plenty of water available. Where salt becomes handy is that it's used as a carrier for other minerals and additives to help out with that process. The next two minerals are the ones that are needed in the body in the largest quantities and probably also have the most diverse function. We link them together, calcium and phosphorus, because the relationship between the two is so important. If that relationship is off, you have the same amount of problems as if one was deficient. And so it's important to understand the relationship between calcium and phosphorus. High forage diets, they tend to be a little bit lower in phosphorus. but animals on high grain diets can be lower in calcium. And one of the main things is they at least need to be equal. We never want our diets to have less calcium than phosphorus. That's when we get into some major imbalances. Some good sources of these two is dicalcium phosphate. Dicalcium, meaning 2 calcium molecules for every phosphate molecule, is a common source of both of them, works really well, and you'll see that added into feed labels quite a bit as an ingredient. Limestone is another one that's used just for calcium only. The deficiencies and imbalances, whether it's deficient or just an imbalance between calcium and phosphorus, deals with bone development, the skeletal development, and can really affect animals permanently in their developmental years, and that's why it's so important to pay attention to the calcium and phosphorus levels and their ratio. We'll talk more about the calcium to phosphorus ratio in growing animals. There's the other major minerals that most animals need are magnesium, potassium, and sulfur. And some of the micro or trace elements that are very important, usually in like immune systems and those types of things, is cobalt, copper, iodine, iron, manganese, selenium, and zinc. Most of those have some role in immune function and those types of things, and that's why it's important to make sure they're in the diet at appropriate levels. Depending on the species, depends on how we supplement them. Ruminants we don't worry as much about because we have the microbes that help us do some of that, and most of the diets are okay, and we provide a free trace mineral supplement of some kind. However, in the non-ruminants, like pigs and poultry, they will put in the premixes to make sure animals have enough. When we talk about vitamins, vitamins are actually organic sources, organic compounds, that are needed in very, very small amounts in the body. We're talking parts per million, or what we call an international unit, which depends on the vitamin. Those are just usually the units of expression. There's 2 major classes of vitamins. They're either going to be water-soluble, and that is all of the B vitamins and vitamin C, or they're going to be fat-soluble, which is vitamins A, D, E, and K. If you see the name of a vitamin, and it's not A, D, E, K, or C, then it is one of the B vitamins. And sometimes they go by numbers like B12. Otherwise, you may see things like riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid. Those are examples of B vitamins. Almost all feeds have some levels of vitamins. However, the concentration in plant and animal tissues is going to vary considerably on a whole host of factors. Yeast is a lot of times added to diets because yeast and other microorganisms are excellent sources of the B vitamins, and that's why when you look at some feed labels, especially those maybe that showed livestock, you'll see yeast added to the diets. It's because of the B vitamin source. And also, if you think about it, B vitamins play a very important role in metabolism and stuff like that. Take a look at your energy drinks and see what is on the back, what ingredients are in there, and you'll find that they have a lot of B vitamins, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, niacin, B12. All of those B vitamins tend to be in energy drinks because of their role they play in metabolism. The most likely limiting vitamins in natural diets include ADE, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, niacin, choline, and cobalamin. Just as a note, all of these last ones, those are all B vitamins, water-soluble B vitamins. Biotin's generally added in, or biotin could be limiting in swine and poultry diets. That's another B vitamin. Vitamin K may have to be added depending on what feed additives you may be adding. There's some that could inhibit synthesis, so it's just understanding the products you have. Niacin is critical in fat metabolism and the prevention of a nutritional disorder called ketosis that can happen when an animal's body burns fat at too fast of a rate. When we talk about supplementing vitamins, generally a rule of thumb is for the non-ruminants, they add everything just to make sure they've got it and prevent deficiencies. For the most part, toxicities would take quite a bit to get to, and we're usually really only on the fat-soluble vitamins because those are stored with the fat. Water-soluble vitamins tend to get flushed out every day with the water of the system. Ruminants, generally vitamin A could be deficient in animals not getting green feed if they're not out on fresh pasture. We could have a vitamin A issue if they're getting hay or high concentrate diets. That could be an issue. In feedlots and dairies that do feed the high concentrate diets, it is a general practice just to add vitamin D and E more as an insurance policy to make sure the animal has adequate levels.